I'm a big fan of Adam Savage's YouTube channel. I enjoy watching his videos a lot, even though I don't have the hands for the stuff. It's something that if I ever get the opportunity to do, I would love to get better at using physical tools and being a real maker. But he got a digital microscope the other day. And the first thing he did when he got this thing in the mail was he took it out, put it all together, and then tested it out on stream and talked about how he was certainly going to modify it. He modifies everything in one way or another, but that he was going to live with it. He was going to put it together, buy the book, vanilla, if you will, and then he's going to play with it, play around with it, test it for a little bit, see how it all works the way it was designed, and then he's going to take it apart and make it better, closer to fit the workflow that he likes, the taste and the way he likes things to be, how to fit in his existing workspace, all that good stuff. Now, I run through this example because something I see a lot in not just the OSR, but in tabletop role playing in general, is folks jump to the house ruling. They get a new system, and the first thing I see them doing is they're running on the Reddit saying, "Tell me your house rules. Give me your house rules. Show me what you're doing to the game, how you're modifying it, because I'm going to take these mods." And while there's nothing inherently wrong, obviously, with modding these systems, you are supposed to take them and modify them to fit your table. When you're first coming to these rules, you don't know what's going to fit. You haven't lived with it. You haven't put it together in the way that Adam Savage put together his digital microscope. And reading the book is not putting it together. In the same way that if Adam Savage had simply read the instruction booklet to putting together the microscope and then started modifying it, that wouldn't be the same. Just try it. Play the game first. It doesn't have to be for a whole campaign. It can just be a session. It can just be a one shot. Just play through. See how all the stuff that you've read, how it really impacts play. And I maintain that you can't get a great sense of how something's going to play simply by reading it. You might think you do. You may be well versed enough in enough of these games to get a sense of what it is, but you're not really going to get there until you actually play it, because these are all materials to play. Now, the benefit of living with these things a little bit is that you're going to start to see the rough edges. Some of those rough edges aren't going to be the ones you think you would find. Others are going to be ones that you thought would have been smooth, but they're not. They're rough, and then you'll know to modify it. Some things you might think, I didn't think I was going to like this, and then you end up liking it. For example, I've never been a fan, just in my own brain, of the player facing roles for everything. I thought, oh, well, it's a gimmick. I'm not sure if I like it. It doesn't seem to be for me. But I discovered when I got to playing a game of Mork Board is that it worked out fine. That I was thinking to myself, hey, you know what? This is a mechanic I always kind of shoved to the side and said, that's nice, but not for me. Now I'm thinking, maybe it is for me. Not necessarily that it's going to replace my existing mechanical preferences, but now I don't think I would frown as much on reading it as I did before, because I'd never played it. It was just how it appeared to me. In the same way, you may read the design of how some tables work or how some roles work, some mechanics, and at first you're going to think, I don't think that's going to work for me. But if you haven't tried it, and tried it in the context of that game, sometimes a mechanic may not work well in game A, but it's going to work great in game B. So even having prior experiences, and some of us have a lot, it's good to put that aside and look at it simply in the context of what it is. Look at it, examine it, and this means playing it or running it and playing it or just running it and seeing how does this actually work. Now, once you've seen that and you've got a sense for how it flows or doesn't flow for you and your table, then go find the house rules. Then go find the modifications that people have done. Because a couple of things will be true for you at that point. You'll know what you want to change, and you'll have a sense of how you want to change it. Because the other thing about house rules is they're extremely personal. What is going to be good for one table is not going to be good for another one. What one GM, the way their workflow works, and they like things a certain way for them, may not be the same way for you. When you go run on a Reddit or some other forum and just grab a heap of house rules and then just start throwing them in your game, you have no idea about the context around these house rules. You have no idea if the table style that these house rules coming from is going to fit your table style. And because you don't even know at this point if the rules they're changing are ones that you would change, you're just adding a lot of confusion. It's going to be hard to sort out what's working and what's not working about a system if you're muddling it up with house rules and you're not sure why the house rule was done, you're not sure why the original rule was done, but you're just changing it up. I'm going to give you one more quick example. I'm a big coffee drinker. I love espresso. And espresso to make is super finicky.
Our story begins here with coffee.
There's a lot of different variables. And what the golden rule when you're trying to really hone in your espresso making, brewing, pulling, when you're pulling your espresso shots, is you stick to one variable. If you're going to change how much coffee you put in, then you keep everything else the same and you just change the amount of coffee you put in. Try to keep everything the same as you can and then see how it comes out. If you don't think it's the amount of coffee, then maybe you change the temperature. But once you change the temperature, then you change nothing else. And this way you can see what each variable is doing in the process, and you just change one, find out what it does, go back, change another one, find out what it does, go back. And that is how you can try to narrow in, zone in on pulling really great shots of espresso. And I would say the same thing for your tabletop game. Start off with the base game. Just play it. Just even if it's just once, play it through. Then look at these different variables. Okay, I think it's too slow or too fast, or I don't like this or I don't like that. Pick one of those variables. Change that one thing. Then go back. All right, did that do what I thought I was going to do? Yes, maybe we'll keep it. No, maybe we'll find something else. Maybe it's a different variable. Pick that, change that, and go from there. It's going to take a lot more time, and maybe it's not as easy a process, certainly, as just going in and just taking a hodgepodge of greatest hits of various GM's house rules. But the advantage is doing it this way, while it is slower, while it maybe takes more effort, you're going to really get the game that you want. You want the best game for the table. Ultimately, you want to mod the heck out of these games, but just do it in a thoughtful way, which means knowing what you want and then aiming for that and seeing how close you can get to getting there. Be thoughtful and get the best game that you can get. Game on. Talk to you later.